This video is about for loops. Loops is about repeating the same code again and again. We use for loops to repeat code a specific number of times. So if you open up a new Python file, type in for, we use a counter and we say in range. Okay, range is a Python reserved word, so we're going to say in the range of 10. Okay, we terminate that line with a colon. Okay, anything that's to be within the loop to be repeated, okay, is indented. So print I. So with the syntax for loop, what happens here, you have obviously the reserved word for, you have the loop counter I, you have the number of iterations or the number of the times it's going to be repeated, you have the code that is to be repeated that is indented, and you have the colon needed to terminate that line, and that's the syntax needed. Okay, so what we're going to do now is run our file. So the first thing, as usual, we'll save it, file, save as. Okay, just look for where you want to save your files. Okay, I'm just going to call it for loop and save. You can press F5 or select the run at the top of your the menu at the top, run. Okay, as you can see, what's it's done, it's printed a range of numbers from 0 to 9. Within computers always start with 0. Okay, if we wanted to say 0 to 10, we would have to set the range to 11. There's numbers of different things you can do with for loops, and we're going to just do a few more examples. Okay, so if I wanted to print out a string, okay, a certain amount of time, so I'm going to use the same code, print. So I've got print here. Okay, so I can say maybe say Python, okay, is cool. You can use whatever you want to write here. Okay, and remember, you need to remember the speech marks when you do a string. Okay, so what we do is here we save it. I'm just going to overwrite my program already because it's just for an example. So I'm going to save it, run module. So you can see what happens here. Python is cool. It's done. It's actually repeated Python is cool 10 times. Okay, what we could do as well, we can actually add some more stuff here. So if I give another example of using a for loop. Okay, so we might want to do some. Okay, so we might start from 5. Okay, that might be where I want it to start from, and then I can have a stopper, which is 0, and then I might want to, it's up to me, but how I want it to step, I want it to step going backwards, so I'm going to step it going -1. Okay, and I'm going to terminate. Okay, and then I'm going to say here, once again, I just want it to print the counter. Okay. This part of the code is not within the loop, so it's going to only print it out once. Okay. Okay. All right, so here I've got where I want it to start from. I've got where I want to stop, and I've got where I want to step. So it's going to be stepping backwards -5. Okay, so I'm going to save it again because this is just demonstration purposes. You can save it as a new file for yourselves. I'm going to run it, run module. So you can see what happens here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off. Okay, also what we could do here as well, we can create ourselves a little program. So for instance, I might want the user to enter in some information for me. Okay, so for instance, say I want the user to enter in their timetable. Okay, so we can request the user to enter what timetables they want. So I'm just going to call it a variable and call it table, just to abbreviate for timetable. And here we have to say integer. Remember that when we're dealing with numbers, tell the computer its numbers, we have to say int. And then I'm going to say ask the user what timetable they require. Okay, what times table do you require? Okay, so they would enter in the timetable they want. Okay, and then here I have my loop here. Okay, so I want the timetables to go up to 12, so therefore I'll put 13. Okay, from here we have to print out the timetable just to make it look neat. Okay, so here I've got my counter. I'm going to have the times table. Okay, so I'm going to have the multiplication, and in program we'll use star for multiplication. Then I'm going to use the word table. Okay, so whatever the user enters as table, okay, will be whatever number the user enter here will come up on here, will be substituted for table. So here I'm going to have the equal sign here. Okay, so with the equal sign, which we're going to use, okay, and then I'm going to do the counter times the whatever the user put in for table. So I'm going to say counter, which is I. Okay, and then here I'm going to do times and then table. Okay, so here, as you can see here, I've got a variable called table. I've got information that's going to come to the screen, which I forgot. One thing I forgot was to put the word input, because without having the word input, nothing will come to the screen. Okay, so what I've added here was I've said table. I've stored the variable as an integer. Input what times table do you require? Okay, then I've got a loop for I in the range 13. So this was obviously repeated up into obviously it will go 0 to 12. I'm going to say print I, which is the counter, which will start from 0. The times table, the star, which will replace an X for times, and table, and the equal signs, okay, and then the I times the table, okay. So if we run it, well, we save it first. We can save it, give it a name, if you want to give it a name as. If I run it, run the programs. Whoops, I've got a problem here. So if I go run. Okay, what timetable I want? So I'll say 5. If you can see here, it's done the 5 times table. So you can see what happens here. So if you can see I is the I here. You can see the star is a star there. Table is what the user said for 5. So here you can say table 5. So it's all the way down here. You can see that it's the first counter starts with 0. Then it goes obviously 5, 10, all the way to 60. And you can see that I've said in the range 30. So if you count these numbers from 0 to 12, there's actually 13 numbers here. But we start with 0. As I always say, the computer always starts with 0. And obviously we've done our timetable from 0 to 13. Thank you.